Ever since I was little, I've wanted to fly. The whole idea of being above the clouds, by myself, completely in control, that's the kind of thing that's always appealed to me. When I was growing up back in New England, my family owned a used furniture / antique store. One day they took in a briefcase, and that briefcase was filled with flight manuals. I asked my dad if I could take it home. He didn't seem to care too much, so I took it home and put it under my bed. A few weeks later, I pulled it out and started leafing through the books that were in there. They were like government flight manuals, training manuals, really. A lot of it was over my head. A lot of it was actually understandable by a, 12-year-old. There was a lot of information about airfoils and weather and airports and vectors and all kinds of stuff like that. It put my head in the clouds, and I soon went out and got a program called Flight Simulator 2 for my Commodore 64, if you remember those things. I spent hours flying and flying and flying everywhere. The graphics were terrible. The controls were terrible. The program itself was god-awful, but it gave me a taste of what it was like to have control. Of course, that was just a game. It was a simulator. There was no danger, no risk. It'd be a few years before I actually got on an airplane and flew anywhere. I wasn't at the controls or anything. I was on a 747 or something like that, headed down for some sort of school trip. I forget what it was. My excitement for flying immediately turned into pure panic. I was terrified. How could something that big and heavy stay up in the air and carry me thousands of miles away from my home without crashing into a mountain or an ocean or something? A few years and a few flights later, that's when my fear of flying really set in. I was coming home from Europe. I spent a semester abroad in college, my senior year. We had a rough landing at Logan Airport in Boston, and that set me off. I didn't fly again for 12 years or so. I missed out on a lot. I think I already told you that story. I never lost my love and fascination with flying. I just couldn't do it. But sometimes life has a funny way of getting you off your feet and above the clouds. And that's how I feel when I climb on my motorcycle. I hear people say it a lot, and I read it a lot in my comments. Motorcycling is like flying without leaving the ground. And there's a lot of things that motorcycling and flying have in common. There's excitement, there's travel, there's risk, there's reward. I'm glad I put in the time and the effort to get over my fear of flying. And I'm glad I put in the time and the effort to relearn how to ride a motorcycle with confidence. See, when I started out, I felt kind of like I do when I fly now. I didn't have any control. I was pretty much at the whims of the bike. I'd twist the throttle and hope for the best. That was in my younger years, before I was, wiser. I didn't have any real interest in the technique of riding. I didn't really have any interest in becoming a better rider. I just wanted to go fast and feel the wind in my face. And so to that end, I'm glad I didn't pursue a private pilot's license back then, because I think I would have done it for the wrong reasons. In my older years, I have very little interest in getting a private pilot's license. I like being flown. I don't want to fly. But sometimes I feel like I'm flying when I'm on my motorcycle. Sometimes when I twist the throttle and I'm scooting down the road and there's no one else on the road, my head's in the clouds. And doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. It doesn't mean I'm not being careful. It just means I'm in another place. Sometimes when I'm flying down the highway, wind is blowing through my helmet. I imagine myself flying an airplane. I imagine myself flying through the clouds, above the clouds, below the clouds, alone, silent except for the engine and the wind noise, and at peace with everything below me. When I ride, it's just me, the bike, the road, the wind, and the engine. It really is the closest thing to flying without leaving the ground. One of the things that attracts me to airplanes is the same sort of thing that attracts me to motorcycles. How can something that's so seemingly simple do such a complex thing so well? Once you understand the very basics of aerodynamics, an airplane makes complete sense. But how the hell do you explain a motorcycle? Have you ever tried? Have you ever tried to explain to a friend how you steer a motorcycle? You ever try to explain countersteering? You turn the handlebars left to go right? Really? The front brake is responsible for something like 70% of your braking power? Wouldn't you go ass over tea kettle every time you hit the brakes? I'm sure pilots have a million questions that they're asked all the time. Aren't the wings gonna snap right off? Why do they bend like that? What happens if we get hit by lightning? Won't turbulence just cause the plane to break up into 1,000 pieces? I can't explain the physics behind why a motorcycle does what it does. I'd probably have an easier time telling you how an airplane stays in the air. And I guess maybe that's why I love riding so damn much. There's a little mystery to it, right? When I think about it, when I think about how a motorcycle works and why it works, it brings me back to a time when I was a kid, when I was fascinated with learning how airplanes worked. I never flew an airplane, but I ride a motorcycle. And from what I hear, that's the closest thing to flying while still being on the ground.
Take my time, dear, just to keep you around here. You know what they say, you can't keep the clouds away, away, far away. Every day is a brand new day. All my life I've been searching for the right way to keep my head above the clouds, to keep myself from looking down. It's harder than you think to live our days in happiness, to worry about what happens next. It's harder than you think to. It's harder than you think. Life's moving faster. It's all just a game we play. I've been losing myself in every single way. At least I still have you. I've played all my cards, and I'm all out of luck. Put my money in the jackpot, but I guess it's falling through. At least I still have you. Every day is a brand new day. All my life I've been searching for the right way to keep my head above the clouds, to keep myself from looking down. It's harder than you think to live our days in happiness or worry about what happens next. It's harder than you think to be. I'm just taking my time, just taking my time here. I'm just taking my time, just taking my time, dear. I won't leave you behind, won't leave you behind, dear. I won't leave you behind, won't leave you behind, here. I'm just taking my time, just taking my time, here. I won't leave you behind, won't leave you behind, dear. Every day is a brand new day.